All right, well, if you guys are listening, then you're new here. This is our first time doing the Tech Yeah Gaming podcast.
Hopefully the first of many.
The first of many. This is a brand new product in the Tech Yeah family. Tech Yeah Studios podcast family.
The always growing, huge family.
Yeah. And today I'm with Leo. I don't even know how to say your last name.
I don't either.
I've never said it before.
I never bothered to learn. No, it's Peril.
Peril.
Or Peril. My brother and sister pronounce it Peril, but I don't.
Because
I'm cool.
Peril.
Yeah, a lot of people do say that. They're like, Peril. It sounds so Spanish.
Is it supposed to be French?
You guys can't see me, but I'm extraordinarily pale.
Yeah.
Like, remarkably.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't think it's French. I don't know. To tell you the truth, I'm not being funny. I don't actually know. So
should I say it Peril, like perilous?
Yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do that.
Leo Peril?
My sister likes to say Peril because she's a professor, so she calls herself Professor Peril.
Ooh, that is
and
pretty
it makes
good.
her very happy.
That is pretty good.
In honor of my sister, let's do Peril. Leo Peril.
Okay. I mean, we don't have to, you could use your name as you like to use it.
No, I don't think so.
There's no,
now I'm pigeonholed. It's too late. There's no going back.
All right, and I'm Tony Satine.
S-Time.
S-Time. Yeah, Stein is my last name if you guys didn't know that. But this is off to a smashing start. And so what this is we're going to do weekly a gaming rundown.
Mm-hmm.
Leo writes for Game Crate.
Yep.
I work at Newegg and play lots of video games and on our live streaming team.
Yeah.
So between the two of us, we kind of have a bevy of gaming knowledge and access, I think, is kind of what we can offer too.
Absolutely.
So to start, Leo, how you doing? How's your week going?
It's pretty good. You might be able to tell I'm a little sick, but other than that, it's been pretty good. I got to play Resident Evil 2 all last weekend. That was fun. Hopefully we can talk about that. Other than that, yeah, just trying to make it through the week, enjoying myself. What about you?
No,
I don't. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, thank you for asking. Work's been crazy this week, as you know.
Yeah.
So I've been really busy. The beginning of the year in general. I mean, it's funny because the end of the year, you're like, I just need this period to end. And the beginning of the year comes, and you're like,
God, when will this be over?
This is what really needs to end. All this budgeting.
And then every month, you're like, this is worse than last month.
Budgeting and KPI review, and what are we going to do new this year? This is the part. This is way worse than the end of the year.
This is worse than anything.
Yeah. So that sucks. But other than that, doing what I do, gaming a lot. I've been playing a lot of Rainbow Six.
Really interesting.
Rainbow Six is my jam.
Yeah.
I went back through and I beat Nier Automata this weekend.
Oh, interesting. I played that very recently, a couple months ago for the first time.
I kind of kept bouncing off of it.
Yeah. It's very bounce worthy.
But then once I got into it, the A playthrough just flew by.
Yeah, that one's pretty short.
I am having a lot of trouble with the 9S playthrough, though.
Yeah, it's been a while, but that's very similar, right? There's but it's some variation.
So you're playing as the follower character?
Yeah, the hacker.
The hacker. And combat is not great.
You don't like hacking?
I mean, it's not bad. It's just slow.
I don't know if you noticed, but that's actually what hacking is. It's absolutely totally realistic.
I like their hacking mechanic
too.
It's
a lot of people didn't, but I actually do enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
And there's enough variation that it gets, by the end, you're a little okay. Mm-hmm. But it's still, I found it pretty compelling.
I've heard there's some, combat ways you can build out 9S to have a little more...
Interesting.
More spammy kind of 2B sort of combat.
Yeah.
But it's been a real struggle for me, this 9S playthrough.
Yeah, that's fair.
I know that there's another 9S playthrough after this.
There's infinite playthroughs.
Yeah, so I'm a little I really want to get through it, but I'm really struggling. Especially on boss fights and stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're just man.
They're cool boss fights, but yeah, I agree. That's not its strengths.
No.
I think that one of the things about that game is that it never really ends. I mean, you can unlock all 26 endings, I guess. You could do that.
Yeah.
You'd have to be really more into it than I was. I think I went through the 4 main playthroughs with the 4 different characters, or 3 different characters. And then at the end, I was like, cool, that was fun. And I just watched all the endings on YouTube. Because I was like, I'm not spending another 20 hours to get 5-second endings.
Everyone basically said 4 or 5 is the meat of it.
Yeah, I'd say you get 80% of the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of just run off the map at this part, and it's and he was never heard from again.
Yeah, exactly. That's what YouTube's for.
Yeah, you don't need those. But The music in that game is incredible.
It's beautiful.
I listen to that music all the time now.
Yep.
It's
so varied.
It blew my mind.
Yeah.
I like playing that game and hearing that the music was really good. And, I when it came out, like in 2017, there was a lot of like Game of the Year discussion around it. And I was excited about it and was kind of like waiting for the PC port to get worked out at that point. It never really did. So
it was troubling.
I finally just bought it on sale on PlayStation.
That's exactly what I did.
And because it was like $20 around Christmas or something.
And I was like, you know what? It can't be that much better.
And it's a great game. The music is the strongest part, I think, in a lot of ways. I think between the style of it and the music, like the shifting perspectives is really awesome when you first start it. Sometimes though, when you're like in the flight suit and it gives you like that 3/4 perspective, it is annoying trying to aim.
Yep.
But I feel like the music makes up for anything in that game. Like it's that good.
The music's incredible. Last year we always try and do a soundtrack of the year, and there was a lot of people pushing for that. Our editor-in-chief didn't go for it because he chose something else. But
what did he choose?
I don't even remember. It was something he really liked, which often is the case. It's like, oh, is that what you guys want? Well, guess what? This is what I want, and that's fair.
I don't know how
it was something with really good music. It's not like he chose, Bubsy 3D. But
I don't know how anything could beat Persona. Or anything could beat Nier. Maybe a Persona game.
Persona 5 has pretty awesome music,
a Persona game. But
I played that very recently as well.
Maybe
I got a Vita not too long ago, which is great. And I played Persona 4 a shitload. And I had no idea what to expect. I knew vaguely what it was with like the relationship management and time management, but that was an awesome game. It's very strange.
Golden is great.
It was, that's
it's great.
And then I played 5, and I thought it was even better.
I haven't played 5 yet.
Oh, it's awesome.
I've been kind of because it's so big.
It is big.
It's very intimidating to like jump into.
I think I spent like 80 hours on it, and I was playing it pretty quick. And I think I even played it on easy just because I knew it was gonna be long, and it still was so long. It's awesome though. I loved it.
Yeah, difficulty's never really the issue with Persona. Like,
that's true.
Once you get good at once you understand the combat system and like, you can do these like knockdown combos and kind of like debilitate the enemies to a point where they're pretty easy to deal with,
and then you have to like talk to them, and you can get them to join you like in Pokemon. It's awesome. It's like super satanic Pokemon mixed with like a dating sim, mixed with like some of the coolest art style I've ever seen in a game.
The art's just so good. The characters are so lovable because of the art style is so classy. You know what I mean?
It is like super anime, which normally can be difficult for me sometimes. But I think I had very little trouble getting over it. I mean, even Nier, same thing. Like the character designs are, love them or hate them, very anime.
It's funny because with Nier, you get a lot of people that don't play Nier are so polarized by the art style or by the character style, right? And it's funny because initially when you play it, you're like, this is very like S&M kind of overly sexualized. But then as you play the game and you kind of see the world, there's like a strange sense to it. You know what I mean? It's very peculiar the way that becomes appropriate as you experience the game.
Do you think maybe that's just like the more you play it, the more you're trying to justify it?
I
mean, I'm not saying you.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but
because I know what you mean. There were times where I'm like, maybe it's not that I was offended by it by any means, but it definitely felt a little. Not unnecessary. I don't want to say that because if it's his game, he can make it look however the hell he wants. I had similar thoughts in terms of like, I wonder if there's some greater narrative context for this.
Yeah,
and I don't mean just a throwaway line where they're like, you had to dress like this because for whatever reason. But I think thematically, I never quite clicked for me like why they were.
Yeah, I think when you first play that game, it's off-putting in a way, and I'm not.
It makes it harder to take seriously.
Yeah, and I'm not the like. To use a terrible term, like the social justice gamer, you know what I mean? Like I played DOA, I played Mortal Kombat, I played Soul Calibur.
For sure.
I'm not the one that gets offended by those things, but it is like, wow, like this is one of those, right? But and I don't think there's like I mean, you played more endings than I did, so you know better than I do. But even from what I played, like there wasn't an explicit like this is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think as you see more and more that these are like personified dolls.
Yeah.
Then you kind of understand that they are kind of hypersexualized, but that's because that's what that's what we do with playthings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's definitely a sort of a generous read of it that I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And we should be clear to people who haven't played it, the characters themselves are in no way sexual at
No,
all.
at all.
The way they behave, they're very... I mean, they're robots, but they're really interesting, and they're not stereotypical at all. They have a very interesting relationship, but there's nothing sexual about the way they present themselves.
I mean, honestly, I think finding a sliver of tenderness between them is almost like the climax of the story, right? Like,
and her sort of slowly realizing, hey, man, maybe this dude isn't so bad.
Yeah, like her caring at all is almost the, like, wow, it happened. This is the end. It's the roll credits, right? Like,
it's ending K.
Yeah, but it's I think that's kind of the juxtaposition of it. Like, because like a toy, like toys don't care about each other. You know what I mean?
No, that's an interesting read on it. Like if you look at it as humanity's toys, sort of forgotten playthings.
Yeah, and
that don't realize that they're so forgotten.
And granted, it is very generous. It is taking what's been given to me and being like, what makes sense to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's art, right? That's the whole point.
That's art, yeah. And that game is definitely artsy. But
it is.
I didn't intend to spend the whole show talking about Nier.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
well, but it actually kind of, the way they play with perspective and how it's sort of two sides of the same coin, that kind of leads us into Resident Evil 2, if you don't mind switching gears a little bit.
No, because you've spent time with Resident Evil 2. I haven't gotten to touch yet. I saw the demo.
I won't go too into depth because it doesn't come out till tomorrow, and you know.
Well, they're not going to rehear this today, so you can say whatever you want.
Oh yeah. I guess I meant more for you.
I will say this going in, I don't think I ever played Resident Evil 2. I'm thinking back. I know I played 1. Mm-hmm. I watched some 2, and I'm like, okay, the library looks familiar. Like Marty, I remember that guy.
The very, very memorable character known as
right.
Marty.
That was the cop guy, right?
Yeah. No, you had good memory.
Marty. Because I just remember him being all, like, messed up, you know?
And, like, bitten up.
Yeah, bitten up, chewed up. But I don't remember, like, I saw someone playing through some of it, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I did this. I remember 3 really clearly, like the Nemesis, like, stars. I remember that, like, super clearly. But I don't think I ever played through 2 to the end.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm like seeing this from. You know,
that's actually cool because I had the opposite experience where I remember very clearly I had Resident Evil 2 on the N64, which is actually a pretty astonishing feat of engineering that they were able to fit a game that big with the FMV cutscenes on a single N64 cart. It's kind of extraordinary. But I remember I had it and I played it. I played the shit out of it. I loved it. It was scary, but I played it so much that I started trying to get through the campaign as quickly as possible. I was kind of like speedrunning before I knew what that was. And I played it a lot, and I loved it, despite its like ridiculousness. So I think I'm kind of the target demographic for this re-release. And I will say that it, to me at least, it hit every single note. They did a really incredible job of taking everything that was really cool and memorable about Resident Evil 2 and really capturing it. And then just making it look 50 trillion times better.
Yeah, Capcom has just been firing this past 2 years.
Yep,
like in a way
on point.
In a way, they have not been for a long time.
Yeah,
and I mean, outside of fighting games, at least they've been on point. But it's exciting because like Capcom's one of those developers like Konami used to be, where it's like you really have a soft spot for their licenses from like the late 90s, early 2000s, right? They really were one of those developers that kind of made the games that were really exciting at the time. So, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do next or kind of how they explore that more. But, Resident Evil 2 looks amazing.
It is, and it does look incredible. Like the environments. Did you play Resident Evil 7? Oh.
No.
You actually gave me a copy of Resident Evil 7.
I gave you my copy of Resident Evil 7.
Because you're too scared.
I am a little scared.
No, it's scary, man. But the reason I bring it up is because it's the same engine, RE engine. And if you did play Resident Evil 7, the environments look insane. They're beautiful. The character models are a little iffy, but the environments look insane. And this is absolutely true for this remake. And it was kind of a trip to see the police station and the lab and all these environments I knew like the back of my hand as a kid. And see him so lovingly reimagined, but so photorealistic. It was kind of trippy.
Yeah, it was.
It was like, whoa, this looks exactly how I imagined it, but you don't have to use your imagination anymore. Which you could argue that's maybe not the best thing, but for me, it was really pretty interesting.
I wish they had one of those engine switches where you cut the scene to like
OG
version, because it's one of those things where you don't realize what it looked like until you actually look at the old one.
They are doing that awesome thing that all these developers have been doing, like they did with Tomb Raider, they did with Mario, where they have the low poly character models options. Cool. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's hilarious, especially because it's so serious and dark. To see Claire and Leon running around their ugly ass 90s polygon faces, like it's gonna be so amazing.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I love that too. I love when things aren't so serious, but they take them very seriously. Yeah. Like I think that's what makes Hitman so special. Is that like in these latest two, Hitman, I mean, always has, but these latest two especially, it's a nonsensical, goofy playground. Yeah. But they play it completely straight. Yeah. Like, this is the most important thing in the world.
So when you see him in his, like, bird suits.
He's a clown in his clown suit.
Yeah, that's like, so grim and very serious. Very important.
It's like, Agent 47, your target is escaping. He's just like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's
like
so
clown
good.
Shoes squeaking.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so great.
I think Metal Gear Solid was always good about that, too. Like, he's very serious. He's an auteur and blah, blah, blah. But there is a lot of pretty hilarious, over-the-top stuff in there that I think could be pretty good.
Yeah, it's hard to... It's like, Is Konami in on Kojima in on the joke?
I think so. I mean, he created the chicken hat, and it's all him.
Yeah,
he's just weird.
Yeah, you can make D-Horse take a shit like that's that's not. I mean,
dude, that's next gen gaming mechanics.
You can strategically use.
Yeah, that's good.
The D-Horse shit.
It's called good game design.
That is good game. I'll tell you this: Metal Gear Solid 5 does not get nearly enough credit.
You know, it's funny you say that because I recently tried to play it, and I enjoyed it, but I had just played Red Dead Redemption, and obviously they're not even remotely similar, but in some ways they are. And it was just, for some reason, it was so hard to get into it after after Red Dead Redemption. Not just because they both have horses, but it was just the wrong time to try and play it. So I'm going to give it another chance. Also, I have to say, I really was like, where's David Hayter?
Yeah, and
Keith Sutherland sucks, man, and he was clearly phoning it in.
Were you playing a new save, or were you playing from a previous save? Resident Evil 5.
I played Phantom Pain.
I don't know why I call it Resident Evil 5.
Hey, we're going
all over the place right now.
I played the Phantom Pain. Oh no, I played what's it called?
Ground Zero.
Ground Zeroes. That was cool. And then I played Phantom Pain.
Okay, but when you tried again, were you playing from your?
I didn't try again. This is my first time trying.
Oh, it's your first time.
I'm saying I'll probably try it again soon.
I'll say the Phantom Pain, the intro, doesn't do that game a lot of credit. It's a long.
Cool. It's cool. Hospital.
It's cool, but it is long.
Yeah,
it is hardly gameplay.
Yeah, it's very Metal Gear Solid.
It's very Metal Gear Solid, and when you do get gameplay, it seems unfair. Yeah. Like when you come out into the main hall and everyone's got guns and stuff, and you're just like, oh, you're just getting shot to death.
Yeah, like stumbling.
Yeah,
like
stumbling around. Yeah, you're just like, oh, this is rough. But, I felt like as I got comfortable with that game, got some unlocks, kind of got used to the AI and how the bases worked, the open-endedness of it.
Totally.
Really, like just being able to, like, take a base and just being like, oh, you guys want to do this?
This is mine
and
now.
Just disable all their communications and be like, there's no one coming for you.
Sneak.
There's nobody coming. Yeah, call whoever you want. They ain't coming, right? And just just dismantle them.
Totally.
Right? Is gratifying.
And another thing, kind of in line with what we were talking about earlier, humor wise, it never got old. How fucking hilarious it was when you put the extraction balloon on the people.
Yeah.
When you put the extraction balloon on the people, and then they're just lying there, and you just hear,
Wah! Yeah, when you Fulton out.
And then, Fulton, that's what it was. And then I remember I was sitting in my helicopter after just having completed a very serious mission, and I was wondering, I wonder how my horse gets everywhere. And I look, and sure enough, I see my horse attached to a Fulton umbrella, and he just flies through the air. It's great.
It's great. It's a great game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it much more of a chance. I think I only played like 5 or 6 hours, and it was cool. I just wasn't in the right mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good game, and although I will say, like any Kojima game, it's not for everybody. I definitely wouldn't force yourself to play.
No. The thing is, I loved the first 4. I was really into 1, of course, and 2. I still like 2 a lot. It's a very interesting, experimental. It's not that fun to play, but I think it's important in a lot of ways.
1 blew my mind.
Yeah, same here.
That PlayStation 1 era when those style of games started hitting the scene was just it
was pretty mind bending.
It was incredible.
And I think we were right at that perfect age of Because, if you're too young, you wouldn't have cared. If you're
Yeah.
too old, you'd be like, whatever. But I was right at that age where I'm like, this is what I want. It's so edgy and
This
so
is
serious.
all I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he smokes cigarettes. He's such a
Whoa,
badass,
he
right?
looks at porn.
Yeah. It was like so great.
Yeah.
And it was so like for the time, like real and gritty,
Totally.
which like wasn't being done in games
No.
really. I mean, I'll say the original Resident Evil kind of similar.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Blew a lot of people's mind for similar reasons.
I'd never really been scared by a game. I didn't even know games were scary.
Yeah.
And started playing Resident Evil and was just like, this is fucked up. Like, this is like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're a kid and you're
Am
just like,
I actually having fun? I don't know, but I'm playing.
you're just in your dark in the bedroom playing
Yeah.
PlayStation all night like you always do.
Yeah.
Right?
Only
And
this time, you're shitting yourself.
yeah, and you're just like, this is like, you just had never seen something like that and never had to like push your way through a door and not know what's going to jump through the way. Like,
Yeah.
games were so predictable up until that point. Like the limitations of, NES and Super Nintendo and, the scariest thing on Super Nintendo is a boo chasing after you, right? Like, it really transcended that in a way.
No, it's amazing. And especially given even obviously now how very poorly that game has aged, the first Resident Evil. It's still like the spirit's still there and it's still brilliantly designed, but of course the infamous voice acting and it looks absolutely awful.
And tank controls are so bad.
And the tank controls are just brutal. But it's still, even now when you play it, the remake's incredible, even though it still has those tank controls. But it's still like, this is an important game. And it's still kind of scary. And for the time, it's hard to articulate how
it was so
different it was than everything else around it.
Yeah, like games like that, like PlayStation 1, I think did so many things that like we weren't aware were possible.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
Resident Evil.
Yeah, all like very serious pushes forward.
Yeah, real and like huge leaps in sophistication.
Yeah, or even Final Fantasy 7, which has not aged well.
It's
Also,
so bad.
But at the time, that game totally blew my mind. Like the story was so epic, and I loved it at the time.
Yeah, I definitely cried in that game.
Oh, for sure,
a lot.
Like almost constantly.
Like I wouldn't say constantly. But
I didn't stop crying.
I had multiple, there's just multiple points in that game. And it's not only like the sad part everyone knows about, right? Yeah. It's not only Aerith dying. Like,
wait, whoa. Spoilers.
Like, I can just remember, like, in Red 13 Village, whatever it's called.
That
just
song is so good.
Yeah, the song's so good, and you're, like, sitting up there on the roof with Tifa, and it's just, like, it's not horny or whatever. It's just very, like, heartfelt and touching and just, like, talking about Cloud's past and, like, what he's been through, and he doesn't like know himself, and it's just like, it's like, God, like this is like some like really real stuff right here. It was something, like an experience I hadn't really had.
Absolutely.
I don't know how we got into retro as our subject, but it's awesome.
Well, were you N64 or PlayStation when you were?
I was mainly PlayStation.
Yeah, I was N64 just because I only had one console at the time. And I was really into N64, and I remember arguing with people all the time about PlayStation versus N64 because it's so stupid in retrospect. I guess people still argue about this, but it was sort of desperation. I just had to like the N64 because that's all I had. But in retrospect now, the PlayStation had just some, and so did the N64, but PlayStation really was pushing things forward in a lot of ways.
The N64 was for the couch, right? If you had some friends over, there was nothing better than an N64 with 4 controllers.
With that horrible controller.
With that horrible
the
controller.
three-handed monstrosity of God.
I mean, we ended up getting an N64 after, so how old am I? I'm 36, right? So, I got a PlayStation, I want to say my freshman year of high school.
Okay, yeah.
That sounds about right? Like 96?
Probably.
And I got a N64 probably like my junior year of high school. Because
so like 99 or something.
98, yeah.
Yeah.
Because for one, GoldenEye was just like too big a deal to like not have.
GoldenEye is incredible.
And the Smash ads were running.
Yeah.
Right? And like that commercial was so good.
Yeah.
And I ended up having like a social group that was just like so into Smash. Like we just played so much Smash. But yeah, like if you had friends over, there's just nothing better than GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Or Smash or Mario Kart or whatever you had on your N64.
Slappers only.
Yeah. But man, if you were like that kid that, like wanted to just play a game for
Get
50
lost.
hours by yourself in your room.
Yeah.
And just get lost staring at the TV.
Yep.
Those PlayStation games. And I feel like Sony continues that legacy today.
I totally agree with you.
I mean, even this last year, I was just upstairs talking to one of my coworkers, and he was just like, last year, the games weren't that great. And, he's a PC gamer.
Yeah.
And I was just saying, like, well, in PC, like, all of these games are these, like, long-term products, and like, these releases aren't as momentous, right, as they once were. But if you had a PlayStation, last year was amazing.
It was so incredible.
It was, like, the best year, right?
Yeah.
Like, the best year.
Yeah. Xbox owner, a little rough.
Yeah,
I'm not an Xbox owner, but,
I have a real issue with Xbox.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll get into it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's funny. Like, I like Xbox hardware. I think
It's a good controller.
I think Phil Spencer's great. Like, I like his pitch about Xbox. I think Xbox Game Pass is a great idea and probably the future of how we're going to purchase and consume video games. But whenever I hear somebody be like, Xbox is the best, Game Pass is such a good deal, I'm like, what are you playing? Like...
Oh, they're playing Persona 5. No.
No, like, what are you playing?
They're playing
like,
Horizon Zero Dawn.
No, like, they're playing Forza Horizon.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's like, if you got one good game on Game Pass, like, is it a good deal?
No.
Like, because you're not, you know what I mean? Like, you're not, no one's playing Sea of Thieves unless you're Summit 1G.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No one's playing, what's the zombie game?
Dead Rising?
No, the build a base.
Metal Gear Rising?
Oh, why can't I think of the name of it right now? I honestly, we even played it on stream. It's the one where you got like 5 people. You don't know it at all, do you?
Oh, the weird one. The one where you're just constantly like picking. You have a backpack.
Yeah, you have a giant backpack.
See, this does not speak highly of.
This does not speak highly of the Xbox's games. Where like, these Sony games, just God of War, Game of the Year, all over the place.
Yeah, I reviewed that, and I remember playing it and just being like, "What the?" It was kind of similar to Metal Gear Solid. I was just like, "This is so far ahead of like anything we've seen," and it was really cool to see that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny. I didn't even like love God of War.
Yeah,
I thought it was really nice. Yeah. I thought visually.
Oh, you mean the new one?
Yeah, the new one.
Oh, okay.
Like, I thought it was a good game. Like, there's no denying the quality of that game
and how polished it is,
and how polished and beautiful. And I just didn't really relate to it that much. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny. I don't know what it is. Some things just like grab me so hard.
Yeah.
Like Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know if you watched that.
I did not yet. I'm really looking forward to it.
I think it's the best movie of last year. I think it's the best Marvel movie.
Yeah. That's cool.
I cried watching that movie. Like, it was so good.
Yeah.
And in the same way, or in the opposite way, God of War, like, I just didn't feel it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, of course.
All these like heartfelt moments where he's touching the tree, there's the handprint.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, but you're just like, I'm just not. It's not grabbing me, right?
That's
and
fair.
I played through, and I played the level with the flying evil elf dudes.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, this is a lot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this takes
a bit much.
This is taking a long time. Like, I fought like 900 of these elves, right? And it some of them are very hard to fight. I like when the one of them where it's all dark and he's just like diving at you. I'm just like, this is a lot to do. But there's no denying that game is beautiful. That game sounds amazing.
Yeah, and the motion capture and the animation,
the voice acting,
and the voice acting is like just the best.
Just Kratos and Atreus just talking.
Yeah, and the villain was so interesting. I thought, and like the way they wrote him, it was so cool. The ending's awesome.
Yeah,
I loved it. But I totally hear what you're saying. I mean, I've definitely felt like that with games where I can clearly see, and even music and movies where I'm like, I can totally see the quality of this, but I just don't particularly connect with it.
The quality of God of War is undeniable.
Yeah. So it's not like no one's saying, oh, this is bad. It's just saying it didn't connect with me in the same way it might for other people. That's totally valid.
Yeah, and I think if I would have gotten to the moment where, the twist, if you want to say, we don't need to spoil it, but I probably would have felt different because I do have that nostalgia for playing God of War games on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But I didn't because I felt it was a little too a little too paced early for me, right?
Interesting.
I think if I would have got through that first level faster and seen another environment and had another wow moment,
Yeah.
right? Like I would have been like, oh, like I can't stop.
Yeah.
But because it was like so long in that single environment, I was just like, and I got frustrated by a couple things.
Yeah.
There's a point in that first, I don't. It's the first level, but it's well into the game, you know, because
Yeah, there's no like traditional levels in the game.
But there's a point where you got to like charge through these, like a horde of these elves that are like a bridge, like a and for some reason at that point in it, like I didn't think to charge, right? Like I was like, I'm just trying to fight, right?
This goes against all of my instincts,
and I'm just like dying and dying and dying, and I had no clear indication. It's like, oh, you just got to run through these, you know what I mean? Because the rest of the game has trained you. It's like clear the mobs, move on, clear the mobs, move on. And that's what I'm trying. You know, I'm like, got to kill these guys so I can get to the next point. And I must have done that, like that checkpoint, like 20 times. Before I moved on.
Yeah, that would be frustrating.
And you know, we all hit those like brain dead moments in games, but that was definitely like I don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean?
This isn't fun.
And it's sad because I think the moment right after that, like the cutscene where he's been gone for a long time and Atreus kills all the, it's very good.
Yeah,
I think it's a very cool part, very touching. But I was like, just like done.
Yeah.
No,
that's fair. It is funny when you run into those moments where like, I know this is something simple. God damn it!
Yeah,
but like
I'm
I
wrong.
can't figure it out. And then it gets to the point where you're like, no, this game's broken. Even though you know the game's not broken. Yeah. Of course the fucking game's not broken. That's ridiculous.
Everybody's already beaten it. Like, it's not broken.
Well, even, or like sometimes when I'm reviewing a game and I'll get stuck and you can't do anything because you can't Google it because it doesn't, no one's played it yet. So then you're in this position where you're like, well, I literally have to beat it. I can't just give up. And of course you figure it out eventually. Yeah, you're like, I'm such an idiot. But it's always funny, that feeling where you...
Did you ever write that email to PR?
I haven't had to yet. Thank God.
And then like an hour later you write another email like, ignore the email.
Just kidding. my little brother got on my laptop and sent it. He's dumb.
Yeah, he's an idiot. Don't worry.
Yeah, the email read like, your dumb game's broken.
Yeah.
Why can't I get past this obstacle?
Yeah.
It's glitching.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, did you like look to the left? And you're like, oh yeah.
But then occasionally, especially like Fallout or Bethesda games, sometimes they do glitch out, and then you can't progress, and it's not your fault.
And they totally break.
It doesn't happen that often, but it happens just often enough that it's like feasible that it could happen.
Yeah. It's it's frustrating. I mean, that's why it must be hard. Someone was like, I was talking on my Discord.
Yeah.
Because we get to play some games early for streams, but not a lot. But I know you play a lot more games early than I do. And he's like, it must be nice to play games early. And my response was like, not really. Like, it seems amazing. It's cool. But, you know, the real fun of video games, and I think the thing that brings joy to me, I like playing them, of course. But
that's good.
That kind of like new game social buzz that comes up, and that like participating that and being in your Discord server and talking about like how dope this game is. Did you get to this part? Or
how disappointing it is.
But you know, when it's a great game and you get to like we're doing right now, sit and just like talk about what you love about it. Like, that's so exciting.
Absolutely.
And you know, and that's not something you really get when you play a game early.
That's true.
And
no, that's a good point. There's no way to like do feedback or like or to converse with anyone about it.
Yeah, even those debates of like why you think it's amazing and why someone else thinks it's trash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all that stuff is one of my favorite things about games. And you know, I don't think playing it early ruins that. It's just you're not missing out on the best part by not getting to play it early.
No,
you know what I mean?
absolutely. Like, what's the best part?
Yeah.
Turning it on, you get to do that. One thing that is cool though is when you play a game early, like for example when I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, no microtransactions because the store doesn't exist yet. So that's kind of cool because you get to see like sort of a pure form before any of the advertising's being pushed. Now, on a lot of games it wouldn't make a difference, but that's kind of neat. You get like a very cut down pure version of the game. It's almost like a game. It's like a PC without bloatware.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It's very like, this is it. It's very simple. There's no DLC. There's no extra costumes. It's just, here's the game. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, that is neat. So I want to talk about a couple of news stories. So we've been kind of just like going wacky wild, and we're still talking about how our week was technically. And one thing I want to talk about is something that happened a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago. Who can tell?
We've lost
with this, I mean, honestly,
time doesn't exist.
It's
anymore.
funny because we started planning to do this like last week, basically. Yeah. And like so much stuff is happening.
It's a different world.
So many news stories are going on.
Yeah.
And so many things I've been dying to talk about have been happening that it's like I've been so eager to record.
Absolutely.
Right? But the thing I think that like weighs the heaviest on me right now, and I think really is telling for gaming as a whole currently, is Activision and Bungie splitting up.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
My immediate take is I don't think anyone's going to figure out how to make money on these games. Not just Destiny. I think Anthem, The Division. I think I don't love Activision.
Yeah.
I don't think they're a cool company. I don't think they're a nice company, but they know how to make money. Bobby Kotick knows how to make some money.
Yeah, clearly.
And he's not a dummy.
Nope.
And he had in his hands the most recognized and kind of loved one of these, games as a service, MMO-esque shooters in the world. And he was like, I don't want it.
He's like, on second thought,
yeah, just take it.
You can have it.
It's fine. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, like, that's not a decision that was made lightly, I'm sure, but at the same time, it's not a decision he had to make.
No, of course not. And,
it does make you wonder.
Before this happened, there were actually reports that Activision was shopping Destiny to other developers.
Oh, wow.
To have Destiny be continued by someone other than Bungie.
Wow.
Cutting ties with Bungie and then having someone else.
I wonder what Bungie would have done.
I mean,
who knows?
Who knows, right? And then it never came to be.
Yeah.
And I think the reality is, I don't know if there's a world where there's a sustainable and, I mean, there are ways you can monetize a game like that would technically function.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they would function and hold an audience, right?
Like significant enough to recoup the investment or at least have like a long-term strategy.
Yeah, I mean, just because the cost of a game like Destiny, right? It's one thing if you're making League of Legends and expanding the game involves making a character and a YouTube video.
Like Overwatch or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and then putting it out and then letting people play it forever. It's another thing when making more content involves voice acting and level design and a balance adjustment. Like, you're really bringing the whole squad back together for each iteration, and the cost of that is obviously astronomical, right? And how do you recoup an amount of money that makes that investment advisable? And I think what we're seeing is it wasn't for Activision.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they wouldn't do it if if someone was making money. But I do hear you about, is it sustainable? Something like Anthem, which I'm excited to play tomorrow.
I'm excited to play it too.
I really am looking forward to it. But yeah, I do wonder, is that old model of we'll just make it bigger and shinier and hire even better voice actors and spend even more money? But then again, there's something like Red Dead Redemption, which was insanely expensive to make, but recouped very quickly.
Yeah, but I think that those games are profitable, but they are it's like Witcher.
Yeah.
Right? They're very unique cases.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
And I think Rockstar, even more than CD Projekt Red, has their previous franchise making so much money.
Yeah.
That it really affords them this room to do what they want when they want and take a ungodly amount of time, knowing that they kind of have this money fire hose they could just shoot, right?
Just shoot dollar bills.
Yeah, they can just shoot dollar bills out into the world, and everything's going to be.
That's true, and even like GTA Online, right? I mean, that's a cash cow.
Yeah,
and then there's good old games for.
Yeah, they can kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah,
GTA Online makes so much money that it's sort of we'll be fine. There's not.
Yeah, they can afford to take risks. And again, it's not like Red Dead Redemption wasn't going to sell well. There was no chance of that happening. Partly because they did such a good job and they probably knew it. They're like, no, this game kicks ass. It's definitely going to sell well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a huge risk, but yeah.
I mean,
we'll see how they continue to price that with the online version of that. I don't know if that's making money. It must be, but
I'm interested to see if it does what even a part of what Grand Theft Auto's been able to do with their online service.
I mean, I think by almost any metric it was already successful. But if they can use that to fund another 6-7 years of whatever the hell they're working on, probably GTA 6, I'd imagine.
It's funny how successful a game is and how polarizing it is
What?
as far as its quality. Red Dead Redemption.
It's not polarizing.
I mean, it's polarizing as a lot of people don't like that game.
I think there's a lot of people who don't like it, which is totally valid. I loved it, but I could definitely see it's not that fun to play. But it is a brilliant game by pretty much any metric.
Yeah, I think we've reached a point in games which we've been at with other when it's really kind of found its way into like true art.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Where it doesn't all have to be made to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like songs can be dissonant and art can be sad and movies can be
scary,
troubling or scary, disturbing,
and still be considered valuable.
And so, still be considered valuable. And I think we're kind of reaching a point where, especially studios like Rockstar can make a game that is, truly, inarguably of high quality.
Yeah,
and make the game very like somber and sad and
almost not fun to play.
And almost not fun to play,
but
right?
Still awesome.
And still, like it have so much value and so much.
No, that's true.
It's a strange place for people, I think, who have always been told games are toys.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
I think you're absolutely right. There's definitely some valid criticism of that game mechanically. Like, hey, the controls suck. Yes, they do. They absolutely do, and they didn't have to. They went in that direction for some reason. I'm sure they could tell you why. But it's still, that's not really the point of that game. Like, it's not supposed to control like Bayonetta or Nier Automata. Like, it's supposed to be like a lumbering, slow, like very deliberate method of locomotion that isn't that fun, but is certainly keeping in line with the artistic vision of the title, I think.
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't really like Grand Theft Auto 5.
That's also not, it's cool as a simulation, but it's not that fun to play either. I mean, it's pretty like sloppy in terms of gunplay.
And I feel like where Red Dead succeeds, I feel like Grand Theft Auto 5 doesn't even approach. You know what I mean? Like, there's no... It's so not heartfelt. It's so...
it's intentionally, like... dismissive and cynical.
It's so cynical and dismissive and vulgar for vulgarity's sake and still has shitty controls.
Right? That's true.
That it's like... I remember... playing it kind of like when it came out on console and then just recently like buying it for $20 on PC and trying to get into online because I'd never played online before. Just being like, I hate this. Yeah. Like, it controls so bad. Like, mouse and keyboard sucks. Yeah. Controller controls suck. Yeah. Like, I kept thinking I'm doing it wrong. Like trying to shoot while you drive doesn't make sense. Yeah, like, all of these things...
It's realistic, man. Shooting while you're driving is supposed to be hard.
It's not that it's hard; it's that it's dumb. But yeah, it really like, with Red Dead at least I could like be like the controls, whatever. It's not. This isn't about like.
It's not.
Like, I think that's kind of a weakness of it is it has so much shooting for a game. That doesn't need to be about shooting.
Yeah, and the shooting is never that interesting.
No.
And that's it. That's the whole game. There's nothing but run around, which is awesome, exploring, which is great, an amazing story, and then just so much shooting, which is very like uninventive, and that's the weakest part for sure.
I feel like if more missions were resolved with dialogue trees, that game would be better for
That's true for almost any game.
Yeah.
Except maybe Doom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's games where, shooting is the joy of it, right?
Like Destiny.
Like Destiny, right? Like that game, the shooting is so good in that game. It's the best. It's what worries me the most about Anthem is that like that visceral gunplay feeling seems completely absent from what I've seen in video, but that's not the same as playing. So I can't really judge it. I haven't tried it. But like the shooting feels like BioWare games, right? And and so it's not visceral like that. And I think that's where Destiny really shined, is the
it's
gunplay.
its greatest strengths by far.
The gunplay feels so good.
It's the best shooting I've ever had.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of Destiny. I like the second one, but I'm not like a. But man, I will say it's probably the best shooting I've ever experienced in a game in terms of the sheer mechanics of it and the sound design, as we discussed. Everything, they put so much work into polishing that one aspect of it so significantly.
And it's funny because Halo, while still having a lot of, like, you can see the pedigree.
Yeah.
But Halo was so kind of like for funsies, with like the
floaty,
and the guns were all these like space guns, so it was very pew pew and
the needler.
Yeah, and it was cool.
Yeah, it was cool,
but it was toyish. It was where
I totally agree.
Destiny, the guns feel so visceral.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like these are instruments of murder. You know what I mean. Like you're going through to like slaughter just races and millions of
literally trillions.
Yeah, literally trillions of these beastly races, space races.
I'd love to hear their side of it. They'd probably disagree.
They probably would disagree.
But it's too bad.
Yeah. I'm coming to your planet.
Yeah. But we didn't do anything. Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
I'm sure you did something. I was never hugely into Halo for that reason. It felt very like just too floaty, for lack of a better word. And Destiny still has that, but the shooting's so tight that I don't even care.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think the weakest part of Destiny is the floaty stuff.
Yeah, well, the weakest part of Destiny, I think, is everything except for the shooting. And it looks nice. But, like, they forgot to write a story, as far as I could tell. Completely just blanked it. It's
tragic, because I really think, and as much as they've improved through DLC and kind of keep making it playable after a couple years, which seems to be their MO, I think really Destiny's the best time in Destiny was vanilla Destiny.
Interesting. Which I never played.
Pre-DLC. The Vault of Glass was their first raid, and it felt very much like a World of Warcraft raid or something. It was only 5-man, or 6-man, which I think is disappointing. I think if they did bigger ones, it'd be better.
Yeah,
but
which they have since, right?
No, it's still 6-man.
Oh, really? Interesting.
But it's a sequence of fight your way through the trash, get to the boss room, come up with the strat. Everyone's
solve
sitting
the puzzle.
Everyone's sitting at the front of the boss room, being like, "All right, what do we got to do this time? All right, you're on this.
Yeah,
you're on this.
That is cool.
Assign the tasks, give it a shot, wipe, try again. It had those hallmarks of like what raiding in MMOs always felt like. That was very exciting and had so much promise.
Yeah,
right. And they just peeled away from that so hard.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's like we were saying. I think it's the profitability of it makes it so hard to create that content. You know what I mean? It's so big and it's so massive. I mean, I would think in a lot of single player games, a Destiny raid would almost be the entire game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's a good point.
It's 6 bosses and 5 hours of content. And you know what I mean? And it's
and they're releasing it as like a patch.
And they're releasing it as like a patch or like a sliver of the game. But I'll tell you this, for most games, a World of Warcraft raid is even bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's really shocking how much is in that game.
And I think people do take it for granted.
Absolutely.
Like you said earlier, it's not just, the engine's already been made, so it doesn't take them that long. No. You're bringing in like you said, you're bringing back the old crew,
the whole
the
team.
voice actors, the writers, the level designer. Like, this is basically making another game. Yeah, you already have the engine and the rules established, but this is not like one dude in Unity. Like, let me add a raid real quick.
And let's be fair,
I got a free afternoon.
Let's be fair. Most games already have an engine and rules established.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's true.
We can pretend they're making them all from scratch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the reality is they're taking existing engines. Tweaking the rule set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even when they say engine, that doesn't actually even mean anything anymore because it's like it's a series of tools.
Yeah.
No one has a singular engine like everyone's using everyone else's. I think that term is kind of outdated, but
yeah, just the idea that somehow, like, sure, indie games, there's things that are developed from scratch.
Sure.
But it's not how AAA games are
certainly
created.
No.
Right?
They definitely have something they're working off of.
Yeah.
If not, that would just be insane.
Insane, right? Maybe some of these next-gen games, like, I don't know how CD Projekt Red does it with all this time and money they got.
Yeah.
But
they got nothing else going on.
But, yeah, these aren't, they're not inventing these things. But, yeah, like, I just saw the split as, like, a troubling sign for this style of game.
That's an interesting read on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and I just don't know if people are prepared for something like a monthly subscription, or like how do they monetize this?
I don't know, but I think you're right. We're about to find out in the next year or two. I think the Division will be an interesting one because so you have the big guys, right? So that's Ubisoft, and then I guess EA with Anthem. I don't know. I guess Destiny would be the closest parallel.
Mm-hmm.
So those are like all the big guys, and they're all kind of in the same place where they're putting out these huge titles, and they're like you just said, they're gonna have to figure out how to monetize it. And I mean, they wouldn't have made sequels. I guess Anthem isn't a sequel, but basically is. If they didn't think they were going to make money, if they didn't make money on the first one. But it will be interesting to see how they really keep that going.
And I think that's what's so terrifying, right? I think that's what's so terrifying to these publishers, right?
Yeah.
Is that they all thought Destiny 2 was going to print money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they all were like, Destiny 2, they figured it out, made a bunch of money.
Yeah. It'll be like Destiny 1, but better.
Yeah, and so Destiny 2 is going to just print money and Ubisoft's like, we need one of those, and EA's like, we need one of those.
Yeah.
And then Destiny 2 doesn't print money.
Yeah.
And Activision's like, everyone else is making one of these. Like, we don't want to be in this fight. You know what I mean? Like, you're not printing money.
Yeah, we lost. All right.
Yeah, now EA and Ubisoft are like, oh, I hope ours prints money.
Yeah.
I hope ours finds a way or finds a voice in this. Because only one will survive.
I totally agree. It's just like any other genre. It's like MOBA or first-person shooter. I mean, there's always room for more than one, but there's usually a pretty clear victor.
If I had to guess, I would say Division 2.
You think so?
Will be the survivor.
Interesting. I did not think the first one was much at all. I played it a fair amount, but I didn't really like it, and it didn't seem very creative. I played a fucking cool trailer, though. One of the coolest trailers I've ever seen was the original Division trailer. I love that trailer.
The original Destiny trailer was so good.
Yeah.
Like, I just watched it again. It plays that immigrant song, Led Zeppelin, right? And they're just like real really live action, and they're like jumping around and like being goofy and stuff. I thought that was so great. But yeah, the Division show was great. I just think Division 2, I think they learned.
Yeah. I
think they did a good job of learning from, their kind of some of their failures with Division 1.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, I hear that game got much better.
Yeah, which seems to be kind of the model going forward for games like Siege or your boy Siege. Is same story.
Siege is great.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
But I feel like they learned their lessons. I feel like they took them to heart. I feel like a lot of that is being put into Division 2. I feel like, there's some things I find troubling, but that's because I'm probably not the audience for it. You know, I saw that they're scaling the weapon damage in the dark zone, right?
And the zone's still dark after all this time. Come on.
And for me, like, I'm a traditional MMO, like, grind and dominate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I find that more satisfying.
Get the best stuff, and now you're better than everybody, and kill them,
that's
right?
That's the whole power fantasy.
And that's kind of what Destiny has gotten away from that. They normalized damage and all the PvP.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Sort of. I mean, it makes sense as in...
It makes sense as, like, it's not much fun to play if you are underpowered.
It depends.
In PvP.
Sometimes it is.
I guess
right?
That's my problem with Black Ops as well.
And WoW kind of did that too. Like, that's what I mean. Everything kind of got this equal softness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it kind of depends how you frame your PvP. We keep going back to World of Warcraft because I think it's such an early example of a lot of these mechanisms kind of coming to the mainstream. And, in World of Warcraft, like, PvP wasn't just... It doesn't all have to be, like, let's have a shootout, let's see who dies first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's other ways to phrase that combat or other ways to participate in that system that don't need to be a measure of gear score, right? And so, and when you played, like, Alterac Valley was a World of Warcraft. Okay. I don't know if you ever played World of Warcraft.
I played a little bit. Like, I know the basics. I know all the expansions, but I didn't. Certainly nowhere near the way you did.
So Alterac Valley, and I played a lot of World of Warcraft. Yeah. I was a warlord on my server, which means like you're like the top 2% PvP players.
Wow.
It just means you play PvP all day.
So you just, like, murdered people who didn't play as much as you?
I could slaughter people. But that's the thing. What I'm trying to explain is that, this map was like 60 on 60.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Right? and there were basically 2 pathways, right? And along these pathways were these landmarks.
Sounds like
and
a MOBA.
towers, right?
Yeah.
Sort of like a MOBA.
Yeah.
But the thing was, there were bosses that you could fight.
Oh,
So as your 16-man group, you could decide, like, we're going to defend. We're going to stop the other team from pushing and then push everything forward. Or you could decide, we're going to try and run past the other team and just base race.
Yeah.
Or we're going to split up. You know what I mean? So you could engage in that whole system and never fight PvP.
That's crazy.
Right? And get PvP score and earn new gear and level up. You could only do PvP and you could just be a rogue, stealth around, and just try and ruin other people's boss fights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there was this this variety of ways to participate that kept it exciting and allowed you to do things that weren't dictated by your gear all the time.
It's so mind-boggling that was just one of a trillion systems inside this game.
It was like one of 10 PvP maps.
Yeah, and that's just PvP.
And that's just PvP.
It's astonishing the amount of work that went into that game.
And so, they could do more things like that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Right. But that kind of disappoints me. But I do think that Division 2 has kind of learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
I thought that single player...
That's what people said about Destiny 2, though. They're like, remember how great Destiny 1 turned out to be? And then they kind of just stripped it all away and were like, here's Destiny 1 again.
Any company that has reverted on the fixes of their first game deserves what they get.
Deserves to be disowned by Activision.
Yeah, they deserve what they get. But it's, so that's kind of, if I was going to bet, I would say Division 2.
Interesting, yeah.
But I would never bet on any of these games.
Yeah.
I think they're all going to have a very rough time.
I'm most excited about Anthem just because I love BioWare, and I'm a little nervous in terms of if Anthem doesn't do well, I think BioWare is in kind of a lot of trouble. Because what if EA is like, all right, I guess we could do this now. Buy BioWare. Maybe that would be a good thing, but...
I think BioWare is in a lot of trouble.
I think you're right. That's why I'm hoping this is good. I'm playing Dragon Age through again, and it's so wonderful, and I really, they have such an extraordinary legacy, and it's kind of, I'm hoping for the best. Let me put it that way.
I think that's the name of the game right now, though. I think a lot of these developers are, especially ones under these big publishers, are completely out of touch. And
just because they're too big and they've made too much money.
I feel like Bethesda's in a lot of trouble right now. I feel like they've kind of made a terrible bed they have to sleep
I don't think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well,
you're referring to a specific
we don't have to get
title?
too deep into that. I feel like Ubisoft's one of the few that could afford to not have this game take off.
And I think that's partly because they have such a diversified portfolio of franchises.
And, but I think that the reason for that is they're very good listeners.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that that shows... you go back and you play For Honor right now. It's a fun game.
Yeah.
You go back, Rainbow Six. I play a lot of Rainbow Six. I love Rainbow Six.
It's incredible. I love it too. I'm not good at it. I don't
not
play it
good
that
either.
much, but I love it. It's an incredible game.
I'm bad too, but it's great. It's a great game.
No, it's an amazing game.
And,
it's so strategic and tactical, obviously, but like on a level that you don't normally encounter in any game like that.
That's what I try and tell everybody. It's a puzzle game. It's not a
exactly.
It's not a shooter.
It is a puzzle game.
It's a puzzle
but
game.
It's a very, very stressful puzzle game.
It is, but it's
awesome.
It's like trying to think like what puzzle I would describe it to, but it's like a versus kind of like a line war, right?
Yeah.
Like it's these lines of sight you're trying to manipulate forward.
Yeah. It's
while
all about
not
understanding angles.
while not falling into your enemy's line of sight and using your tools to like dictate those lines.
Yeah.
Or to break obstructions and kind of cheat the system and find new ways. And it's a great game.
It's also, we could go on and on about Siege, and we should maybe next week because I'm going to the big, the Siege Championships.
And we got New England Play Siege Month coming.
Yeah, that's right.
They're so mad at me. They're so tired of me talking about Siege.
Well, too bad. They should have agreed to do it.
It's so funny. Last night in the Discord, I was like, I'm really worried. These guys haven't played Siege at all yet, right? And they're like, we can hear you. Like, stop talking about this.
Like, no, guys, shut up.
I'm like, no, like you guys should play it. Like,
you gotta try it, or it's gonna be rough.
It's gonna be just gonna be
rough no matter what.
It's gonna be so rough because they're gonna. Yeah, I can feel it. They're going to be like, oh, no, it's fine. It's a shooter. I'll be fine.
Yeah, it's Counter-Strike, right?
No.
Yeah. Well, it's like Overwatch. There's heroes. It is nothing like Overwatch.
I'm like, I sure wish you guys would at least find an operator you like before we start, right? Like,
at least that looks cool.
At least know a skill. Like,
just one.
But, I get it, too. Like, they're not excited like me for it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what got Siege into trouble originally is it doesn't, when you first see it, it does look like a standard shooter. It is not, but it doesn't really set itself apart in a lot of ways until you actually play it. So I could see from a marketing perspective, it's like, oh, it's a Counter-Strike ripoff.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I never really played it.
Yeah, no one did at first.
Yeah, and I waited for like one of these free weekends and bought it on sale. But I was not interested until I saw Shroud playing it.
Yeah,
right. Because I watched him play other games, and I saw him playing Siege, and he would say like, this isn't like other shooters I play.
Yeah,
like
it's profoundly different.
And this is a game where you manipulate lines of sight, and and he's the one that would say it's like a puzzle game. It's not what you think it is. And watching him play, I was just like, oh, this is sick. Like, this is what I wish Counter-Strike became. Like,
you said that not long ago. Like, this is what Counter-Strike, like modern Counter-Strike, should be.
Yeah,
I didn't play it until I last year was on assignment to go to Montreal to cover the Siege Bowl or whatever it's called, like the big championship, the esports championship. And I didn't know much about it, but I did a lot of research. And once I started watching these professionals play, it is just so profoundly different. And the way they, it's totally different than Overwatch 2. It's not just about the hero's abilities. That's a critical part. But it's like you keep saying, it literally is just a line of sight game.
Yeah.
It's like who can get the drop on who first. That's it.
And who can understand?
And there's a million different ways to do that, and then just intimate knowledge of the maps and how destructible the maps are.
Yeah, and like who can destroy what, and how you can counter that destruction. And
it's brilliant.
It really is.
I think another cool thing about them is, and part of why I think they get more and more people, is they're not afraid to break the game briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of companies are really scared to break it, which makes sense, I suppose. But they'll take weird risks. Like we were talking about Lion.
Oh
how, like they were just like, let's try this crazy thing out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like they seem a little more willing to take risks, and then of course nerf and listen to feedback.
I think that's what Epic does so well too.
Yeah,
I think that's why Fortnite's been so popular.
They're the masters of that.
They're the masters of breaking their game.
Yeah.
And saying, "Oh, we messed up,"
and then just being like, "What do you want in here?" Okay, done.
But being down to throw out a patch in a week, right, and tell Reddit like, we blew it.
Yeah,
we're just gonna have to change it.
Yeah, sorry.
Is like,
I admire that.
I admire it. So it's so refreshing.
Yeah,
especially coming from playing multiplayer games my whole life. Like you never heard from Blizzard on Warcraft 3 patches. You know what I mean? Like you just played the same game with the same version for like a year. You know what I mean?
And if it didn't work, didn't work.
Stuff just sometimes didn't work. Like it wasn't this like cycle of like, it sucks to download it once a week, but we're going to update this game every week and tell you
guys
why.
Like it? Oh, you don't? Okay, no problem.
Yeah, we'll just change it. It's great. It's indicative of this era and the way customers need to be treated.
Yeah.
Like it's
for a game like that, at least.
I mean, to be fair, honestly, it's one of my disappointments with the place we work. Right?
Yeah.
And I think businesses in general don't understand that this availability of communication and feedback and
it could be a strength for both parties.
Yeah, it's such a strength, and just like anything, like vulnerability is such a strength right now.
Absolutely.
And kind of like exposing yourself garners so much interest.
Yeah.
And it's funny because most of these large companies, like the one we work at, like our biggest competitors, are definitely afraid of exposing their vulnerabilities and showing themselves as real people. Yeah. And admitting like what they are and that they have weaknesses and strengths, and
they'd rather be faceless.
Yeah, they'd rather be faceless, powerful, all-knowing Oz.
Yeah,
and
and then if a mistake is made, which it will be inevitably, no matter who you are. But I mean, maybe something like Epic, they're kind of in a position where they can do that.
Yeah, they have.
Not everyone necessarily has that luxury to take risks, but I totally agree that it's awesome the way they do it. They're just like very transparent about listening to feedback. And it's worked well for them.
Everybody could do it.
Yeah,
but that's the whole thing about like, this is like bigger than game. This is like life. Like, that's the whole
real shit now.
That's the whole thing about exposing vulnerability.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Is it's the only way to get reward.
Yeah,
but it's also like the most damaging thing you could possibly do, right?
But it's also the best way to build strength in the long run.
So it's like, of course, the the scariest thing to do can also be the most rewarding thing
Yeah.
to do. But if you're just never willing to do it because it's like, no, that could be disastrous, then yeah, you're stuck where you're
And
at.
you stay brittle.
Yeah, you stay
You're
brittle.
not flexible.
And then you're a 37-year-old man, single, alone, right? Make a video game podcast.
Crying yourself to sleep at night.
Yeah, never willing to expose your cold, broken heart to the world. You know?
I don't know anyone like
no,
that.
it's just it could happen. I'm just saying it could happen.
Could happen.
I'm just saying, like, that's a possibility if you don't open your heart and be a little vulnerable every once in a while.
So why don't you expose yourself to me right now? Let me rephrase that. Why don't you open your heart to me?
I don't. What are you asking me out?
Maybe.
I'm not going out with you, bro.
Oh, see, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. I open my heart and you crush it.
I don't know. You want to go get wings?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
All right, we can get wings. Yeah, it's crazy. It's surreal. It's such a great time.
It is, and I think one of the coolest things is like, as always, there's something for everyone. Like Red Dead Redemption and what Rockstar is doing is almost the opposite of that. In that when they made Red Dead Redemption 2, they didn't give a shit what anyone thinks. Like they didn't. There was no demo. They were just like, this game's gonna kick ass. We'll show you a couple trailers. You'll buy it. And we did, and it was amazing. And that's a very different experience, mainly because it's single player focused, which is kind of more in line with what I'm looking for, narrative driven. And then you have the polar opposite side of that, which is very social, lots of feedback, transparency, and like, you know, it's free to play. And there's something, you know, there's every step of that spectrum as well, which is awesome. There's more cool games to play than ever before. So I don't know why people complain.
I don't know why
if you don't like Fortnite, don't play it. Go play Siege.
Yeah, it's funny how mad people are.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like madness is like the if you could sum up like the 2010s in a word, it's like madness. It's like
That's accurate.
It's like you just got to be mad.
Yeah. If you're not mad, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I can't remember someone's podcast. They always quote this like quote. And I don't even remember who they quote when they say it. But it's like the best thing about getting old is not having to have an opinion on everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, totally.
Like just the wisdom of abstinence, right?
Yeah.
It's just being able to be like, yeah, I'm not concerned.
know.
I don't know. I don't care. Like, yeah, I don't know enough to care.
Yeah.
There's things I care about, and this isn't one of them.
Yeah.
Like,
I have no opinion on it one way or the other.
yeah, like it's so freeing.
Yeah.
And it's you know, it allows you to kind of open yourself up to like games you might not have tried.
Yep.
Right? Because the exposing yourself after indifference is okay, but exposing yourself after, you know, telling everyone you hate it is a violation of like your personal code, right? And it's so hard to like get through.
Yeah. And then you have a horrible secret you don't ever want anyone to find out. And that's no fun. Not that I would know.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're putting down, buddy.
You're picking up what I'm putting down.
I'm putting down what you're picking up. I don't know. I don't know what I said. All right, we should probably start wrapping this thing up.
Well, I'm excited because there's so much more we could talk about.
I know.
Which means there's plenty more episodes to come, I hope.
I could do this all night.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you.
Totally.
Like additional episodes might end up being longer.
That is totally fine.
But, you know, I'm going to upload this on the main feed right now.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of keep in line with
That's totally fair.
how we've been doing the show.
Yeah.
But, you know, real quick for our sign off, if you want to email us, you can email the regular Tech Yeah Podcast, techyeahpodcast@gmail.com. Just put games or something. If it's about games, I'm going to read it here.
We'll probably be able to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of email to sort through, but I think I can figure it out.
If you need to hire a virtual assistant, you know, I know a guy.
And I will get this up on its own feed, Tech Yeah Gaming.
Cool.
So look for it and it'll take a few days to get up on iTunes and Gmail.
Yeah.
They're very slow.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a lot of fun.
It was. I'm really looking forward. Yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments, I'd love to, you know, it'd be a lot of fun to hear other people's feedback, not just us talking to each other, but yeah.
And we'll be a little more structured next time. This time we're really just rapping. But I think next time I want to get into kind of what Leo does as a writer.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And we can talk a little more about kind of streaming and stuff.
And
too.
I'm sure we'll bounce all over the place again, maybe a little bit less.
No, probably just as
Yeah,
much.
probably more.
That's just kind of how I roll.
I'll be more comfortable. So
anyone that's heard the Tech Yeah podcast knows that this is basically what happens for an hour.
This is what you get.
This is kind of what you get.
You know what you signed up for.
Yeah, but we really appreciate it. If you listen,
thanks for listening.
And if you got tricked into listening because you thought you were listening to the Tech Yeah podcast,
Suckers!
Yeah, you're a sucker for one.
And we win.
Yeah, and we win. But subscribe to our gaming feed.
Yeah.
And we'd love to have
pull
you.
any more interesting news. And yeah, like I said, love to hear your guys' feedback.
And play Resident Evil 2, y'all.
Yeah, seriously. I swear to God, it's awesome. And also, I'd love to hear people who haven't played the original because they might have a very different opinion. And that would be really fun to talk about.
Yeah, play it. It's amazing. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play it.
Spooky.
It's spooky. It doesn't look, I mean.
It's pretty spooky.
Is it? Resident Evil.
How was Resident Evil 7, Tony?
I feel like Resident Evil 7 was a lot more of a traditional horror game.
Yeah.
Where I think the other Resident Evil games are. I just don't feel like they're spooky, but they're not. I don't know.
It's more jump scares, but it's still pretty scary. It's very violent.
Yeah, it's more of like a.
It's
more of a zombie movie.
Yeah, it is a zombie movie.
Right? I
It's
don't
just
think
a weird, like,
Seven's
90s
not a zombie movie. Seven's a horror movie.
Yeah, it's like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre style.
Yeah, where 2 is a zombie. Zombie movies don't scare me.
Yeah, well, then play it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Maybe you will. All right. Thank you, guys. We love you. Appreciate you listening.
Thanks,
and
guys.
we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good.